I have a dear friend named Walter. We first met at a gas station back in 1982, both of us juggling jobs, raising kids, and hoping to squeeze in a little fishing on the weekends. Walter is a man of few words, but deep thoughts. He lived in the same red brick house for nearly 50 years, a small home with a maple tree in the front yard that turned bright crimson every fall. That's where he raised 3 kids, said goodbye to his beloved wife after a sudden stroke, and spent nearly a decade living alone. I remember one Wednesday morning, we were having our usual coffee at a diner off Route 12. Walter looked out the window and said quietly, "I'm thinking about moving into a nursing home." I was a little surprised. Walter had always been fiercely independent. But he told me his knees were failing, his memory was getting patchy, and most of all, he didn't want to be a burden to his children. "I think it'll take the pressure off the kids," he said. "There's care, there's company, there's doctors. Doesn't sound too bad." I didn't try to talk him out of it. If I were in his shoes, maybe I'd think the same. 3 months later, Walter called me. This time, his voice wasn't calm, it was tired. "I think I made a mistake," he said with a heavy sigh. "I wish someone had told me the things I'm about to tell you." We met up a week later in the very room he now called home. It was clean, orderly, with a flat-screen TV and a window overlooking a perfectly trimmed lawn. But in Walter's eyes, I could see it, he wasn't the same man anymore. He sat there and shared with me everything he wished he had known. Not to complain, but to warn. To open someone's eyes. To help folks like me, and maybe like you, not walk blindly into a decision that could change everything. And that's why I'm telling Walter's story today. A man I love like a brother, with the hope that if you're considering moving into a nursing home, you'll know what really lies ahead. Here are 5 hard truths he learned the difficult way, and wishes he had known sooner. 1. Losing the sense of freedom and privacy. If I had to name the very first thing that started to gnaw at me after moving into the nursing home, it wouldn't be the food, the smell of disinfectant in the hallways, or even the constant beeping of the medical machines. It would be the quiet, subtle way in which I lost my freedom. At first, it crept in so slowly I didn't even notice. The first week felt like a vacation of sorts. Meals were served on time, my bed was made for me, and someone even reminded me to take my pills. I thought, well, this isn't so bad. But then, the little things started to add up. Back home, if I wanted to stay up late and watch old westerns until 2 a.m., I could. The TV had to be turned down low by 9. Quiet hours, they said. I couldn't even sneak a midnight snack. The kitchen was locked, and the fridge in my room was so small I could barely fit more than a bottle of water and some crackers. There were check-ins every few hours. Staff would knock once and come right in. No matter what I was doing, praying, changing clothes, or simply needing a quiet moment, I always felt like someone could walk in at any time. I didn't say anything at first. I told myself they were just doing their job. But inside I felt flushed. Like a teenager again, living under house rules. Even the bathroom, which used to be my private little space, now had safety rails, a call button, and a schedule. If I took too long in the shower, someone would knock and ask if I was okay. They meant well, I know, but I didn't feel like a man anymore. I felt like a task on a clipboard. One day, I asked if I could take a walk outside alone. Just a short walk, around the building, clear my head, feel the breeze, watch the clouds. They said no. Policy. Someone had to go with me. Liability issues. I understand the reasons. I really do. I'm 75, my knees aren't what they used to be, and yes, I've had a couple of dizzy spells. But I've also been a soldier, a father of 3, a husband for 45 years. I've built homes, fixed cars, taught my son to ride a bike. And now, I had to ask permission just to breathe fresh air? That's when I started to feel it, the erosion of dignity. Not in one big moment, but in hundreds of tiny ones. Not being able to choose when to eat. Being told when to sleep. Having people call me sweetie and honey like I was 5 years old. I used to be Walter. Now I was room 214. What hurt most was that it all came with a smile. The nurses were kind. The staff were polite. No one yelled or mistreated me. But the system, the very structure of the place, didn't allow for freedom. It was safe, efficient, sterile, and utterly soul-crushing. I missed my kitchen. I missed the old radio on my nightstand. I missed the squeaky floorboard in the hallway that always groaned when I stepped on it. I missed being able to sit on my porch in my robe, sip coffee, and talk to no one if I didn't feel like it. Now, my days were planned for me. Bingo on Tuesday. Group therapy on Thursday. TV time from 7 to 8. It wasn't life, it was a schedule. And I realized something. Freedom isn't just about walking where you want. It's about the tiny choices that make up your day. Choosing when to nap. How to make your coffee. Whether to leave the lights on at night. When those choices are taken from you, even with the best of intentions, something inside begins to dim. I didn't move into a prison, but over time, it began to feel like one. That's the first truth I wish someone had told me. You don't just move into a nursing home, you slowly move out of your own life. To lonely in the crowd. They say you're never truly alone in a nursing home. There's always someone nearby. A nurse, a roommate, a resident shuffling down the hallway with their walker. Voices echo through the building, televisions hum behind every door, and the dining hall is always buzzing at mealtimes. But I've never felt lonelier in my life. It's a strange kind of loneliness. Not the kind where you're physically by yourself. No, it's the kind where you're surrounded by people, yet still feel like a ghost in the room. A shadow no one really sees. When I first arrived, I told myself, at least I won't be isolated. There'll be folks my age, people who've lived through the same times I have. The war, the black and white TV era, Elvis, the moon landing. Maybe we'll share stories. But stories don't flow easily here. Conversations are short, polite, and mostly about what's for lunch or whether the nurse forgot someone's medication. Everyone has their own pain, their own losses, and most seem too tired or too guarded to open up. We nod at each other in the hallway, sometimes smile, but it rarely goes deeper than that. What I miss most are the neighbors I left behind, people I had known for decades. Mr. Dawson across the street, who used to mow his lawn in socks and sandals. Grace, the widow 2 houses down, who baked pies every Sunday and always gave me the burnt corner piece because she knew I liked the crunch. And Paul, my old fishing buddy. We never said much on the lake, but I felt more connected to him in that silence than I do in all the daily chats I have here. Here, people come and go. Some pass away quietly in the night. Others are moved to different floors when their conditions worsen. There's little time to form real bonds. And just when you start getting used to someone, they disappear. One day, a kind man named George sat next to me at breakfast. We talked about baseball, shared memories of the Yankees in the 60s. I looked forward to our morning chats. Then one morning he wasn't there. I asked the nurse, and she just shook her head gently. No explanation. Just gone. It's hard to let your guard down in a place like this. Hard to keep starting over when every new friendship might end with a quiet, empty chair. There's a chapel in the home. Sometimes I sit there not to pray, but just to think. To remember the laughter of backyard barbecues, the sound of my children playing in the yard, the clinking of glasses during neighborhood potlucks. That feeling of being known, truly known, by the people around you. Of being part of something. Now I'm part of a system. A resident among many. A name on a chart. And even though I eat at a table with others, sleep in a building full of people, and pass countless faces each day, I feel invisible. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about not belonging. And that, perhaps, is the hardest part of all. 3. The care isn't what you'd expect. When I first thought about moving into a nursing home, I imagined it like a hotel with nurses. Safe, professional, and attentive. I pictured friendly staff checking in on me, smiling faces bringing me my medication on time, someone always nearby in case I needed help. That's not what I found. Now, don't get me wrong, Some of the nurses and aides here are kind people. I can see the exhaustion in their eyes, the way they try to juggle too many tasks with not enough hands. I don't blame them. The problem is bigger than them. There simply aren't enough of them. Some days, it feels like this whole place is running on empty. Staff are stretched so thin, they barely have time to say more than a few words. One aide might be responsible for 10 or 12 residents at once. Imagine trying to help that many people, each with their own medications, needs, accidents, and emotions, all in a single shift. I remember one night I wasn't feeling well. I had some tightness in my chest and felt lightheaded. I pressed the call button. Then I waited. 5 minutes. I started to worry. I pressed again. By the time someone came, nearly 30 minutes had passed. 30 minutes. The aide who arrived looked worn out, hair pulled back hastily, eyes drooping, apologizing as she helped me sit up and checked my vitals. She said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Walter. It's just me and one other tonight. We've got a full floor." What could I say to that? I wasn't angry with her. I was scared. What if it had been something serious? A stroke? A heart attack? This kind of thing isn't a one-time fluke. I've seen call lights go unanswered. I've heard residents down the hall cry out for help, and the response comes too late or not at all. Sometimes medications arrive late. Sometimes they're mixed up. And when you try to speak up, you're treated like you're being difficult or confused. Dignity slips away in small moments, when you're left sitting in a soiled brief too long, when no one has time to help you shower, or when a rushed nurse talks over you instead of to you. You start to feel like a burden, like someone who should just be grateful to be kept alive, even if the quality of life is fading fast. They sell these places with brochures full of smiling caregivers and spotless rooms. And maybe in some homes, that picture is real. But in many, the reality is understaffing, burnout, and a system that's more focused on efficiency than compassion. I came here hoping for care. What I found was management. I came here hoping for peace of mind. What I got was waiting and wondering if help would come in time. And that's a heavy truth to sit with when your bones are old, your heart is tired, and all you really want is to be treated like a human being, not just another name on the shift schedule. For high costs, low value. Let me tell you something most folks don't talk about out loud. Living in a nursing home isn't just emotionally hard, it's brutally expensive. Before I moved in, I sat down with my daughter, Laura, at the kitchen table. We opened up all the paperwork, calculators, bills, and brochures. The numbers were staggering. The average monthly cost here is more than a mortgage payment, and that's just for the basics. You want a private room? That's extra. You need physical therapy? Extra. Special dietary needs? Medication management? Personal care products? It adds up fast. In the end, I had to sell my house. The place where I lived for over 40 years, raised my kids, fixed the porch myself, planted roses with my wife every spring. Gone. All so I could afford this room, with beige walls and a curtain for privacy. I also cashed in my pension. Every dollar I saved from decades of working, gone in a flash. I thought that money would last me the rest of my life. Turns out it might only last me a few years in here. And if I run out? Well, that's the real kicker. Either Medicaid takes over and I get moved into a shared room with even fewer choices, or my kids have to step in. I hate that idea. They've got their own families, their own bills, their own worries. I don't want to be another burden. What's even more frustrating is that for all this money, the quality doesn't match. I pay thousands a month and still have to wait 30 minutes for help. Meals are bland. Activities are repetitive. Care is inconsistent. I'm not living in a luxury hotel. I'm living in a place where corners get cut because the budget is tight, even though the bills sure aren't. It's not just me. I've spoken with other residents, folks who worked their whole lives, paid their taxes, fought in wars, raised families, built this country in their own quiet ways. And now, they're scraping together savings, selling heirlooms, draining everything just to stay here. Sometimes I lie awake and wonder, Is this really what all those years of hard work led to? A small room, a fading sense of independence, and bills that won't stop coming. No one warns you that growing old in America comes with a price tag, and it doesn't always come with the value you'd expect in return. 5. The feeling of being forgotten by family. This one's the hardest for me to talk about. When I first moved in here, I thought the hardest part would be adjusting to the schedule or getting used to the new surroundings. But it wasn't. The hardest part was the silence. The long stretches of time when no one calls, no one visits. The feeling of being left behind. Oh, don't get me wrong, my kids love me. They do their best. But they've got lives of their own, and I don't expect them to drop everything just to check on me. I'm not some helpless old man, even if I am getting a little slower. I can't blame them. They've got their own kids to raise, jobs to keep up with. I get it. But still, it stings. The first few weeks, I was optimistic. I told myself, it's just the adjustment period. They'll come around. But as the weeks turned into months, the phone calls got shorter, and the visits got fewer. My daughter Laura comes by once every couple of weeks, but she's always in a rush. My son Mark lives on the other side of the country, and the only time I hear from him is when we're trying to figure out a time to FaceTime. I don't even get to hug my grandkids anymore. It's just a quick, "Hey, Grandpa," through the screen. I can't even remember the last time I had a real, face-to-face conversation with my grandchildren. I used to take them fishing, play catch in the yard, watch them run around while I sat in my rocking chair. But they barely know who I am. To them, I'm just the guy on the phone, or the one they see through a tiny camera lens. It's like I've become this distant figure in their lives. A person they check in on when they remember, but not someone they think about every day. I hate it. I don't want to be a memory. I want to be here. I want to matter. And I know it's not just me. I talk to the others here. Many of them have the same story. Their families don't come, don't call, don't even send a card anymore. I overheard one lady the other day telling a nurse, "My son's never even been to visit since I moved in." Not once. It's a feeling you can't really explain until you've lived it. You're here, surrounded by people, but you feel like you're invisible. Like the world just goes on without you. And no one tells you how much that hurts. I know it's not their fault. I know they're busy. I know it's hard. But still, every time I sit here alone, with the sound of nurses' footsteps echoing down the hall, I can't help but feel like I've been forgotten. Just another old man, waiting for a visit that never comes. In the end, it's important to understand that moving into a nursing home isn't a bad option for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of decision. For some people, it can be a good choice, a place to feel safe, with caregivers around, a chance to meet new people, and a place that offers peace of mind for family members who can't be there all the time. For those who have health issues that need constant attention, or for those who simply don't want to burden their families, a nursing home may be just the thing. But that wasn't my case. And it's not the case for many people I've met here. We're not all the same. We all have different needs, different desires. Some of us are still capable of taking care of ourselves, still want the independence, still crave the feeling of home. And that's what I want to say to you. If you're thinking about making the move, please do your homework. Don't rush into it like I did. Spend some time visiting. Get a feel for the place. Try to picture yourself living there. If you can, try a trial stay. Some places offer that, and it's worth checking out before making such a huge decision. Think about your options. Maybe living with family, or having a caregiver come to your home, could be a better fit. There are always alternatives, even if they seem difficult at first. I didn't consider all that before I moved here. And now, sitting here in this sterile room, I wish I had. I wish I had known that the loneliness, the loss of freedom, and the overwhelming sense of being forgotten would weigh so heavily on me. But I didn't know. Now, I'm sharing my story with you, hoping it'll help you avoid the same feelings. If I had the chance to do it all over again, I would choose to stay in my little house, the one with the creaky porch and the faded wallpaper. The place filled with memories, where I can still smell the lingering scent of my wife's perfume and hear the laughter of my grandchildren. The place where I felt free, where I was still part of the world, and not just a forgotten old man in a corner. That's what I miss the most. If you're still considering your options, I urge you to really think about what you want, not what's easiest or what others think is best for you. Life is too short to give up on the things that matter most. And sometimes, the best decision is the one that brings you back to what you know, to the people you love, and to the life you've built. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found this helpful or if you'd like to hear more about my experiences, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be sharing more insights, stories, and advice that could make a difference in your life. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Take care, and I hope you make the best decision for your future.